Okay, we've finished with our closed session, so I need a motion to come out of closed session and go back into the regular meeting and special meeting of the council.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Nichols.
Second.
Second by Councilor Copeland. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Okay, we're back into the special meeting. The council has concluded our deliberations on all the evidence that's been presented in the hearing over the past 2 days. Are there any motions?
Yes, I have a motion. I'm going to state some findings here. It's going to be part of my motion and everything. And here are the findings: that there is substantial evidence that Mayor John Rolte improperly used city personnel and equipment to access, review, and obtain copies of private email communications of Councilmember Keisha Copeland, and that such action was an unauthorized exercise of his official function as mayor of the city of Bardstown and constitutes misconduct. The substantial evidence is contained in the testimony and the record, but also we're relying on the following substantial evidence. Mayor John Rolte directed Brandon Brewer to access Keisha Copeland's private email communications while on city payroll. Brandon Brewer used city equipment to print emails at Mayor John Rolte's direction. Keisha Copeland did not authorize such access. The testimony of Tim Butler and Bruce Reynolds provided that Mayor John Rolte had no authority to access or print these emails in any capacity. And it was improper. We find there was improper use of city personnel and equipment to print the emails of Mayor John Rolte, because Mayor John Rolte had no right to access these emails. We find that these actions constitute misconduct. Number 2, we find that there's substantial evidence that Mayor John Rolte disseminated the private email communications of Councilmember Keisha Copeland in violation of Councilmember Copeland's privacy rights, and that such action constitutes misconduct. The substantial evidence is contained in the record, the testimony and exhibits. We also rely on the following substantial evidence: that Mayor Rolte accessed Keisha Copeland's private emails and private email account himself and by his direction to Brandon Brewer. We find Ken Abels testified that Mayor Rolte showed and or read to him an email from Keisha Copeland to the local media. In Rolte's Exhibit 21 are emails that Mayor Rolte obtained from Keisha Copeland's private email accounts together with and in his direction to Brandon Brewer. There's several emails in Exhibit 21 that are to WLKY TV, which is consistent with the testimony of Ken Abels. There was no other explanation that was given by Mayor John Rolte as why he had this email that was read to Ken Abels. We find that these actions are misconduct. 3, there's substantial evidence that Mayor John Rolte ordered a city employee to lie to the city council in order to obtain their iPads under false pretenses in order to gain unauthorized access to their email accounts, and that such action was taken without proper authority and constitutes misconduct. We find that substantial evidence is contained in the testimony and exhibits produced, specifically the following substantial evidence. Mayor John Rolte told IT Supervisor Brandon Brewer to misrepresent or lie to the City Council about the reason for bringing iPads to City Hall, when the actual reason was examine the iPads for personal use. Mayor John Rolte never told Brandon Brewer to perform updates before or after receipt of the iPads. The only involvement by Mayor John Rolte with iPads was to order a report on personal use and his viewing of Keisha Copeland's iPad. We find the substantial evidence of false pretenses. Keisha Copeland never authorized such access. Mayor John Rolte obtained iPads and accessed private emails of Keisha Copeland that was not disputed. The manner in which Mayor John Rolte accessed Keisha Copeland's email account was without proper authority, according to testimony of Tim Butler and Bruce Reynolds. We find that these items constitute misconduct as well. And Mr. Presiding Officer, I move pursuant to KRS 483A.040 subsection 9 that the above findings be adopted, and based upon the foregoing findings, that Mayor John Rolte be removed as mayor of the city of Bardstown.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Councilman Williams. Is there any discussion? Okay, this motion has been properly made and seconded. This motion requires an individual vote by the council, so I now call for an individual vote. Councilman Checkles, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Kelly?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Buckman?
Aye.
Councilman Copeland?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries. Okay. Next order of business, we need to set a special meeting of the city council to appoint a new mayor to finish the unexpired term of Mayor John Rolte. So we have a motion to set a special call meeting for that purpose.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Presiding Officer, that we set this meeting for 10 o'clock on Saturday, 12 o'clock noon on Saturday.
I think it's 25.
About 2 changes? Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we set this meeting for 5 o'clock on Tuesday, which would be April the
18.
18th.
So we have a motion by Councilman Shekels for Tuesday, April the 18th at 5 p.m. for a special meeting of the Bardstown City Council to appoint a new mayor to finish the unexpired term of John Rolte. I have a second.
Second.
And a second by Councilman Buckman. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. Excuse me, I need the location.
Council changes.
All right, just to let you know that the Historic Review Board meets at 6:30. So 5 o'clock will work. I just wanted to know it will have to be up until 6:30.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carried. The city council would also like to make access to John Rolte if you would like to retrieve any of your personal effects or property from the city hall. We'd like to be able to let you do that, not during business hours. So tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., you're to meet with Chief Durham, Larry Hamilton, the city council person, let you go into your office and remove any personal items you'd like to remove. I also ask you to return any other city property that you may have in your possession that's not currently at City Hall at that time. That be okay with you? Absolutely. Okay. That concludes, I think, the rest of our meeting. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Shekels. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Williams. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.